if you can. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Sure, and I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you,
Fine.
thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Thank you
Kevin.
very much, Kevin.
Okay, let's start. Uh, the first one. Yesterday, I was watching you, Kevin, in a conference in a university at Utah,
Okay.
and let's. I want to ask you, what happened to that boy who wanted to be a fireman or a football player? Why? What happened in that summer of 1990 in Washington, D.C.?
So what happened in that summer was I was staying with my grandfather and grandmother in Washington, D.C. at their house. And I knew my grandfather traveled. I know, like Cristian, you said your son wants to go to Japan. I knew my grandfather went to Japan. I knew that he had worked with a lot of companies, but my grandfather was very humble. He did not brag. He did not talk about the things that he had done. And in 1980, at the age of 20, I had no idea what he had done except for that he traveled and that he worked with numbers and he worked with math. And other than that, I did not know. So my mother called me and said that there's going to be a big television program on the network, NBC, about your grandfather. And they're going to mention your grandfather. And as you may have seen in the video, I watched that show with him. And at that point, I came to understand his huge impact on Japan, on the Japanese, and that impact was having implications around the world in manufacturing. And it was like, whoa, how can I be 20 years old and not understand this? And so in my case, the rest of that summer was absolutely fascinating because the rest of that summer, the CEOs of the major manufacturing companies around the world all called my grandfather. Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, Xerox, they all called my grandfather and said, we need help.
Crazy, crazy.
And so for me personally, I thought this is somehow going to change my life, but I'm still at the university and I didn't know how it would change my life. I didn't know what it was going to ultimately mean for me as an individual and what I might do in years to come to help my grandfather carry on his legacy. What I knew at the time was I was studying to be a history major and possibly go on to law school, which I did not end up doing. I started my own business. But what it did was because I knew I was not going to be an engineer. I knew I was not going to study mathematics like him, but I knew that it was going to change me in some manner. And so that night and that summer, I watched what happened with my grandfather as this man who was 80 years old at the time. And I remember at 80, I couldn't understand why he was still working. I mean, in the United States at that time, people retired at 65. That was typical. And here's this man working at 80. He doesn't have an office in a building. He works out of the basement of this little house that he lived in. There was barely enough room for me to stay there for the summer. I had to share a bathroom with somebody else. There was no bathroom for my room. And I thought maybe he had to work at 80 because he needed the money. I didn't know that he was working because he loved to work and because he thought he could make a difference, that he knew what the Japanese were doing was the right way to do it, and that the Americans who had followed his ideas during World War II had thrown them away after the war, and that they were going to be in trouble at some point. And so it was just this huge bomb exploding. And I watched it happen for the rest of my time at that summer. And the rest of it became history as the United States refound my grandfather.
Wow.
So I'm not sure, am I answering your question the way you needed it?
Yes, yes, of course.
Yes.
It was a rich answer. Um,
What a crazy story.
yes, very,
I
very.
don't mind.
I mean, you can imagine all of a sudden you see your father or your grandfather on television that millions and millions and millions of people are watching. And you're thinking, wow, because when he first showed up on television, it was only for about 15 seconds. Now, I don't know if you know, but that television program is on our YouTube channel. You can watch that program. So the program that I watched in 1980, I reached out to NBC decades later and said, NBC, will you give us the rights to make that program available? So if you go on YouTube to Deming Institute and you look up, if Japan can, why can't we? The entire program is there.
Oh, yes. I didn't watch it, but I found a lot of videos there in the web page, and started to watch them. So I think that I will watch it, or will found it. And uh, with the Deming Institute, okay, or Deming philosophy. Uh, what is it? What is it? What is the uh, i- what are the goals? Where they aim? Uh, what? How the philosophy of Deming? Uh, what are the benefits for people and for organizations?
Okay. So how many hours do you have? No, I'll give you the short answer.
Yes.
The essence of it is the realization that people who are working, whether you're an executive or whether you're starting out in your first job in business, is that people are working and living under what my grandfather called the tyranny of the prevailing style of management. And that the prevailing style of management causes enormous long range losses in business that end up leading the business and potentially the country into decline. And that the idea is that what's called the way we manage and the way we lead is what he would say is a modern invention. It was something we created. And that this interaction and the way we work and the way we manage and the way we run our business has implications across all aspects of our lives. And when you start to look at it a little bit deeper, what he brings up, and frankly, it was one of the hardest things for me when I started to study my grandfather's philosophy, is this idea that we have grown up in a climate and that we're always believing that competition between people, between teams, between departments, between kids in school, between schools themselves, between universities, that competition between these is going to solve our problem. And economists have taught us that competition between departments and between people is what's going to get you ahead. And what my grandfather said was that competition is destructive. Okay. So now in Argentina, you're big football fans, right? You love football.
Yes, a lot.
The teams have to compete against each other to win a game. My grandfather's not saying that they have to compete, is that, oh, wait, don't go out and play the game and don't compete. But each of the teams is in a league, right? There's one big league that they're all in. Well, those teams have to cooperate together to make sure that they have the same rules, the same referees, that the stadiums are open, all the marketing. So while you're going to compete, you also have to cooperate together. And so the idea with him, with my grandfather, is that instead of competing, is that we all work together as a system with the aim for everybody to win. And so what we need for all of us to win, not just the CEOs and the stockholders, the shareholders in the company, okay? Everybody has to win. So in a football team, it's not just the people who own the team that make money. The fans have to win. The players have to win. Everybody needs to win. So in the company, it's not just the people who own the shares, the stock. It's not just the owners of the business or the executives, but even the person who's sweeping the floor has to win. The customers have to win. The suppliers have to win. And the idea is that if we all win, then you've accomplished what my grandfather's talking about. And so what he says, there's a route, there's a way to get to this understanding it. And to do that, you have to study it as an individual. You have to understand it. You will transform yourself as an individual, and that will help you transform the organization.
Oh. Very, very clear. Very clear.
Yes, yes.
And another question. And do you have one, Ivan, Caroline? Have you got a question? Any question?
No, it was very clear.
Okay. And another one, Mr. Kevin. What is quality for an organization? What is that?
What mean?
What did that mean?
Well, quality in an organization, let me think about that. I think the best way to answer is, okay, so when my grandfather would talk about quality, he would say, is everybody in favor of quality? And he'd ask a room, is everybody in favor of quality? Everybody would raise their hand.
Yes.
There wasn't anybody. You could go on to a street and ask somebody who is homeless, living on the street. You could ask the top CEO, the president, are you in favor of quality? They're all in favor of quality. The basic problem everywhere is quality, but what is quality is what your question is. a product or service, I would say it this way, any product or any service, because Deming is not just about manufacturing, it's about service also. A product or service possesses quality if it helps somebody, helps the organization, and enjoys as my grandfather put it, a good and sustainable market. Okay. So in essence, you know, when you're talking about quality, you're talking about dependability of a product. You're talking about, I'm trying to think what else might be, help make it clear. So, you know, the price might be good on something, but that doesn't mean that the quality's good. Okay. And it may not be that it's in particular, it may not be a product. It also may be a service that you need. And so the question is, if everybody's in favor of quality, like I said, the challenge becomes, you know, what is it that is, you know, how do you achieve it? And everybody has an answer on how to achieve it. You know, they may say you need to automate. You may say you need hard work, best efforts. You may say that let's use an office of quality. Let's have a vice president of quality. The problem with that is that the fallacies of that is that every one of them ducks and ignores the responsibility of management. So quality is, you know, how you define what is a good product or service that somebody wants and that somebody is willing to pay for. It's how do you actually get to it? That is what my grandfather's talking about.
Okay.
Does that help? I'm not sure.
Yes, a lot. Regards quality, I want to know, did the pandemic change quality standards? What do you think?
Quality standards?
Yes.
I think it may have changed. I think it may have changed quality. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know if people have changed their standards with respect to quality. Because here's what I would say. Yeah, in a sense, yes, because everybody expects quality, right? You expect a quality service. And our customers, all of our customers expect quality. I think that because of the pandemic, there is an acceptance that I am willing for the time being to accept lower quality because organizations and companies do not have the ability to maintain the quality they had previously. So for example, a restaurant serving steak, right?
Yes.
Well, in the past, they had the best steak in the whole country because the way their system was set up, their farmers could provide the cattle, which would provide the best steak. And then that steak has to be aged for a certain period of time. And then it has to be shipped within 24 hours to the restaurant so that it can be served as fresh as possible. And then the customer says, wow, I'm going to be willing to pay a lot of money for this good steak. Well, the problem may be that the farmer may not be able to get the feed anymore, the hay, or the person that's doing the aging may not be able to get it in 24 hours to the restaurant because they can't hire enough people, or because people are sick and they can't come to work. So instead of 24 hours, it takes 48 hours to get to the restaurant. Is the steak as good in 48 hours as it was in 24? Quality may not be as high. So, but the customer may say, I'm actually willing to pay more for that because nobody else can do it either, but I still want a good steak. But for the time being, I'm willing to accept lower quality. So yes, I mean, right now in the United States, it's very hard to get parts for cars, for all sorts of things. So customers who want to buy a truck in the United States, they're used to being able to walk into the car dealer, put their money down, and they walk out that day with a truck. That's good quality service. They get the truck they want, but now they walk into that dealership, and because of supply chain issues, they're not able to get the truck they want. So they're willing to accept something that is not what they want. So they're willing to accept a different type or lower quality. I believe so right now. Whether that will last, I don't know. I think we have an expectation that we're used to, and because we're all in a crisis, we're willing to accept a lower quality maybe for the time being, but I don't think that's going to last forever.
Fine.
And the companies who study Deming and understand Deming right now are, many of them are doing better than their competitors far and away, because they were able to change their system. They were able to change their process because they were much more adept at doing that because they're a Deming company, which means they're in a better position to provide their customers higher quality than they've ever received. And what that means, the customer learns very quickly that you, Cristian, have good quality and you, Carolina, have good quality. But all of a sudden, because Cristian, you've studied Deming and your company can now offer better quality at the same price, me or Ivan or Vanessa as a customer, who are we going to go buy that from? We're going to buy it from the person who can do lower cost, higher quality. And so where you and Carolina were exactly the same right here, all of a sudden you're better.
That's right. Yes, yes. Another question, chico, guys.
So the
I have-
companies have the flexibility to adapt the process for the pandemic, and that let them maintain the quality.
Yeah. So today I have a company, and my company has all these process, okay, to provide a service or a product, right? So I'm gonna sell you this pen, and that's what you want. And to do that pen, I have all of these inputs into my system, which include the ink, the metal to make the pen,
Yeah.
all of the capability to make this pen. My process is doing great. You like my pen, all my customers like my pen. Well, those inputs into the system are huge in terms of your ability to manufacture this pen. You need to make sure that ink gets there at a certain time. You need to make sure the metal gets there at a certain time. Okay. So what happens is those processes are there in place. In a Deming company, these companies make this process visible. They actually map it out. They do a system process map. They see what the system looks like. All of a sudden, you have an input which has changed that whole process. And that input is COVID. All of a sudden, part of that process is people being able to work 3 shifts, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, or 9 to 5, 5 to 3 a.m., from 3 a.m. to whatever, 3 shifts. You're going around the clock. Well, the input into your system just changed because a lot of people can't make that shift because they got COVID, maybe they died from COVID, or they don't want to go into a place and work with other people very close to one another with COVID, okay? So in a company that doesn't understand Deming, they don't change their process to accommodate the change in the input into the system. They say, oh, well, we're going to do what we've always done because it's always worked. Well, it's not going to work anymore. You're going to have to change your system. Your customers are going to have different expectations. Your suppliers are going to have different problems. Your employees are going to have different problems. So you either have to change your system, which means the way you work, or you're not going to survive. And Deming companies have the ability to change that system very quickly and to realize the inputs have changed. So we need to change our process to still make it positive and have our customers want to buy from us.
Fine, very clear. Thanks.
Does that make sense, Ivan?
Yes, yes, of course.
I was mute. Yes, a lot. I understand it. Another one. Is quality a way of life? A way style of life?
It has to be. Yeah, well, no, you know what? It doesn't have to be. It depends upon whether you want to survive or not. Because I have people say to me, and I'll give you an example. Let's pretend Ivan has a company and Vanessa has a company. And you both are the only ones who supply this pen. Okay?
Okay.
And both of you have bad quality. You both have bad quality. And so you may still survive and make a lot of money because you both have bad quality. So let's say that you make 100 of these pens. And then at the end, you inspect them. And out of those 100, 70 of them are good and 30 of them are bad. So you have pretty bad quality on 30 of them. Those 30 have to either be reworked or they just be thrown away. You still have 70 that are good quality and you're selling them, okay? So you don't have to have good quality to be successful because you both are making bad quality. But Carolina comes in and she looks at what Ivan and Vanessa are doing and she says, I can do it better, cheaper, and faster with higher quality. So she uses the same suppliers. She may use the same process, okay? I'm sorry, but she's going to use a different process. She's going to look at Deming. And so all of a sudden, you now have a competitor that can make higher quality, lower cost. So all the materials, the ink, the metal, everything coming in is exactly the same. The difference is her process is designed to build quality into the product rather than inspect it at the end. So when she makes 100 pens, 95 of them are good quality and only 5 are bad. Well, who's going to be able to sell them for less? She's going to be able to sell Ivan and Vanessa and Carolyn all have the same quality pen. They all work perfectly. The difference is she can make 95 for the same cost that it takes Ivan and Vanessa to make 70. So instead of $1, she can sell them for 80 cents. Well, you, Christian, you're out now buying 1 million pens. Do you want to pay $1 US or do you want to pay 80 cents? Well, you want to pay 80 cents. So quality is, you don't have to have it. But what I can tell you, if you have bad quality, there is somebody today around the corner or around the world who knows and believes that they can do it better, cheaper, and faster than you. And I can promise you, if you have bad quality, there's somebody in your company right now who says, I'm going to go out and start one because I can do it better. And the next thing you know, Ivan and Vanessa, your company's out of business and Carolina's company is 3 times as big. Now, her problem is somebody else who may come in with even better quality. So quality is not mandatory.
Fine. Of course, you're right.
Let me ask you,
Oh, yes.
can I ask you a question?
Yes,
Of course.
Okay, so quality, we're talking about quality. Where is quality made? Where do you think quality is made? Who decides whether you're going to have good quality or not? So Ivan, Carolina, and Vanessa all have a company. Where is quality made?
I
Wow.
think the quality has to came from the CEO, from the number one of the company.
Bingo.
I'm not a, yes.
Absolutely. What were you going to say, Christian?
What?
What do you think?
From people of the company.
But
I
it
would,
has to start at the top.
Yes.
of course.
So quality is made by the top management. The quality of the output of any company cannot be better than the quality at the top. And so you may have all your workers working hard and giving their best efforts. But if the top person, like Ivan said, doesn't care about the quality, then the systems that are set up, the processes that are set up are not going to function
Okay.
as
Because
well as they could.
Because the CEO is who decides the process and all of that. So if he want to have quality in the process, you won't have it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because
Yes.
I'll give you an example. We have, we do some seminars, the Deming Institute.
Yes.
And for a while, a lot of these companies, the top person would say, and let's pretend the top person's Ivan, says, I'm going to send Christian, Carolina, and Vanessa to this seminar. They're middle level management. They're the people in the company. You know what? You three go do this quality seminar and figure it out. So they go and do, and we saw this happen over and over. They would go to the seminar and they would say, oh my God, we're doing all these things wrong. We could do this so much better. And they come back and they say, Ivan, we went to this great seminar and we want you to change all of these things to make the company better. And Ivan's going to say, are you kidding me? Wait a second, the company's making money right now. We're not going to change things right now because things are going really well. Why would we change? And that's one of the biggest problems that you have is, and we talk to companies for years saying, at some point, there is going to be a problem in your company. When you are going well and things are going well, that is the greatest opportunity because you have the money and the resources to send Christian, Carolina, and Vanessa to training. Because you have the money to do it, doesn't mean you have the will to make the change. And so what will typically happen is Christian, Carolina, and Vanessa will say, all right, well, we went and did this and we're just going to go back to what we're doing and there's nothing I can do. Maybe I need to go find a different job where the top person is going to listen to me and do something. So what we do is we try to get the top people to go through this. So what we would have suggested was, Ivan, you're the CEO. Bring Christian, Carolina, and Vanessa with you to the seminar, and you all explore this together. And then you, Ivan, will also begin that transformation and say, wow, we need to change things.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And in that conference, you mentioned that the Deming philosophy had a limitation. Is it fixed? Did you fix it?
Did I say that?
There was a limitation because it was thought for manufacturing, but not for public
Oh, okay.
Public administration.
administration, education, and services, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So
In that time, no?
if I said that it had a limitation,
Yes.
I said it wrong. What I
Oh.
meant to say was that it does not have a limitation. That because what happened was when my grandfather was 80 years old and that program in 1980 ran, the companies in the United States that had the biggest problems and that were about to go out of business were manufacturing. Ford Motor Company, which you've heard of, was $2 billion in debt and was close to going bankrupt. Okay. So
Yes.
what happened was the Japanese were so focused on manufacturing, and it was manufacturing products that they were sending to the US, going back to that pen we were talking about. So what was happening was the US were Ivan and Vanessa. They were doing 70 pens that were good quality, but it cost a lot more. Carolina's coming from Japan. And so she can manufacture in Japan, ship it across the ocean, bring it into the United States, distribute it, and still sell it for less than what Ivan and Vanessa were doing. Okay. So what happened was my grandfather, in the remaining 13 years of his life, he died at 93. He died 10 days after he did a seminar. So he did a seminar at 93, flew back home, and died 10 days later. That remaining 13 years of his life, what he did was he worked for the willing listeners, for the willing CEOs that said, I need help. And typically, when do you need help? When you're going out of business, when you're in trouble. So
Yes.
what was happening was the manufacturing companies were in big trouble. So they were the ones calling him. Well, he was only one man. He could only do so much. So when I said, if I said anything about limitations, what I meant was that people thought that Deming was limited to manufacturing, but in reality, it can apply to any organization. It doesn't matter whether you're in software, in
Yes.
healthcare, in education, government. It doesn't matter. It can have an impact on anything. So it does not have limitations. It is not limited to manufacturing. A lot of people thought it was limited to manufacturing
Okay.
because they thought quality only pertained to the pen. Quality pertains to the service,
Okay. That's right.
too.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, of course.
It can pertain to education, quality education.
Okay. Um, Another one, guys.
No, for me it's okay. I don't know if we have one more question or it was the last.
It was the last.
Okay.
I want to ask, how can we communicate with the Deming Institute for any activities, another courses, seminaries, conferences, and from Argentina?
So let me ask you a question. Tell
Yes.
me a little bit about yourselves. Why the interview? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Why are the four of you on this call, and what are you doing? Tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Okay. ¿Alguno quiere contestar? We are studying management at the university. So we are in a Oh, help me, chicos. Materia.
Uh, administration systems.
Oh, really?
We are
We are studying that and
one of the subjects. One of the subjects is
yes.
administration systems.
So the teacher asked us to research on Mr. Deming, Dr. Deming philosophy and his 14 points and seven what
7
Uh,
deadly
mistakes.
diseases.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes. So we
So
and
it's about systems, right? You guys are studying systems.
yes.
So let me ask you a question. What is
yes,
what is a system?
it is a combination of processes that are relation one each other and get inputs and give outputs. I think so.
Does everybody else agree?
The process is that you can apply in a company because you want to make a good product or service.
So can you all see my chat?
Your
Yes.
Yes.
your what? I didn't hear.
A chat. Yes.
Chat.
Ah, chat. Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So
Work together. Yes.
Christian was right.
I was near. I was near.
Christian was
yes,
right.
you were.
We might.
But here's the big thing that everybody misses. They always say a system's a network of interdependent components, right? Interdependent, not independent, interdependent. With the aim to, with the working together to accomplish the aim of the system. So do each of you work in different companies or are you just full-time students?
No, we work in different companies.
Okay.
All of we work in different companies. We meet each other in the university.
Yes.
So one of the things that I have done, which is really interesting, is when I've traveled around the world and we meet with executives, CEOs of companies, and we will get into a conference room with all their executives, maybe 5, maybe 10. And I asked the question, I said, I look around and I say, are you all working hard and giving your best efforts? They all say yes, don't they?
Yes. Yes.
Because they don't want to get fired.
Of course.
But they all are they didn't get to where they were without working hard and giving their best efforts, right?
Right.
They all have some sense that their system is a network of interdependent components, whether it's finance, manufacturing, service, whatever it might be, sales, right? So I ask, do you all know what the aim of your organization, the aim of your system is? And guess what they all say? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That's great. Because what that means is you're all working hard and giving your best efforts towards that aim, right?
Yes.
So then I say, don't put your name on the piece of paper, but I want you to write on a piece of paper what you believe the aim of the system of the organization is. And they all write down the aim and they hand it to me. I have never once, except in Deming companies, once I have never had them all write down the exact same aim. And by the way, most of the aims are completely different. One aim may be to make, somebody thinks the aim is to make money. The other one is to provide a high quality product. The other one is to provide a good service or something. They all have different aims. So now you're looking at these executives and say, let me ask you a question. You are now, all of you, working hard and giving your best efforts towards a different aim. Imagine the waste. Imagine the frustration, the money that's lost.
Yes.
If you, Ivan, think the aim is one thing and you're doing everything in your power to achieve that aim, Vanessa thinks the aim is something else. Carolina thinks it's something else, and Christian thinks it's something else. You're all working in the same company, but you're all working towards something different, and you don't even know it. So you, Ivan, are going to build a system. You four are the top managers in the company. I'm the CEO, and the systems you're going to build in that company are going to be to achieve that aim. And you may build really good systems. Then Vanessa is going to be building her sales systems, for example, towards that aim. And Carolina on supply chain systems. Ivan, you may be manufacturing. Cristian, you may be marketing. So you're each building your own system that is trying to accomplish a different aim. And so you now have 4 different systems. And by the way, those are interdependent components, but because they're so separate and they don't take into consideration the understanding of the aim, it's going to make it much harder to be successful.
But in that case, the CEO is who must to communicate all the company the aim clearly.
Right. And it doesn't mean pretend I'm the CEO. It doesn't mean I don't come to the 4 of you and say, I need your help determining that aim. So the aim of the Deming Institute is enriching society through the Deming philosophy. I didn't come up with that. We worked on that together to understand, is that what makes sense? And is that what we're trying to accomplish? And once we got that aim, then it became important, not only if the 5 of us are in a company and I'm the CEO, the 4 of you need to know that aim so that you can work better together. But all the employees also need to know that aim. Because if they think if you're in sales, they think the aim is to make money. So they're going to go out and sell and sell and sell. Well, Carolina may be in charge of implementing a software that Christian's team is selling. Well, if she can't keep up with that, because all Cristian cares about is sales, 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 and you don't have the right people to keep up with it, then all of a sudden you're going to have customers that are going to be upset saying, hey, you promised me, you sold this to me, and you said the software would be in my company in 2 months. Now you're telling me it's 4 months, 6 months? That's bad quality. So you have to work together. Cristian, you may have to slow down the sales so that we can do the implementation.
That's right. That's right.
So they're interdependent, but the key is, are they actually do they know that they're interdependent and that they're actually going to work together?
Together, yes.
After after this meeting, I realized that we are working very, very well because we are a team. We are working all together, and we are permanently communicated.
Yeah.
We talk to any other, and we document a lot and schedule of all the activities.
All of we are going for the same aim.
Yes.
So that makes a huge difference. So I just put another one in there.
Oh, okay.
Another. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I thought that you wrote on the chat. Well, I don't have any question. Perhaps the last one. If you want to close this interview, Kevin, and say something to us, or in Argentina,
And for the class,
or for the class,
Yes.
for the class, yes, for the
because
class,
all the class are going to
see
watch
it, to watch it.
So, well, first of all, what I'd say is I'm glad you reached out. It's been fun to be able to talk to somebody, in Argentina. I hope maybe one day I'll get to meet you in person, and I would say what I would like to see coming out of this, if my aim for this meeting would be that what we discussed creates a yearning for you, an interest for each of you to learn and gain more knowledge, more information that ends up having an impact on you each, your families, your communities, and your businesses. Because like we talked about, this goes beyond business. This may impact your family. It may impact your community. It may impact your team that you coach or you play on. And so if my thought would be is if you were to do that and everybody around you were to gain and to be better for that, then you help me accomplish my aim and why I spend my time, doing what I do.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Kevin.
My pleasure. And Cristian, what I will do is, it sounds like, I can make some materials available to you. The only problem is they're in English for the most part. And I don't know, is that of, of value to you?
Yes.
Because the other thing that I can do is, because in Argentina you speak Spanish, correct?
Yes.
Is I will give you access to some videos that we have that are in Spanish, and I'll do that, as my guest to those videos, and you may find them useful. I'll send you something. It may not be until Monday, but I'll try to get something to you today in terms of giving you access to those videos in Spanish, and then also some in English that you might find useful. And then the only last thing that I would say is, if you have other questions, if there's something else that comes up, this is what I do full time, and I volunteer for the Institute to do this, and it would be an honor to continue to answer questions, or if there's something else that makes sense in terms of supporting your efforts.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
¿Qué, Vane?
Thank you.
I'm sure, I'm very, very sure that after Wednesday, a lot of classmates and the teacher will be interested in interviewing you.
Sure.
I'm very sure of that.
Okay. So let's stay in contact.
That's
yes,
right.
Please.
That's a deal. I gave you a steak and and tango. Yes, and what's some tango?
Tango. Somebody's gonna have to teach me the tango. I know how to eat the steak.
I live in Parque Patricios. It's a neighborhood where tango is very popular. So I'll send you a little video.
Okay.
You'll like it.
All right. I look forward to it. Well,
Okay.
thank you all.
Thank
I
you.
hope you have a terrific weekend and
Okay.
look forward to talking with you in the future. Christian, I will save this Zoom recording and I will send you a link for you to download. It'll be pretty big,
Of course.
but you'll be able to
It doesn't
get
matter.
it.
It doesn't matter.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
For all
Thank you
your
all.
time.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Nice to
You all
meet you.
take
Have a
care.
nice weekend. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.